Well, hello, my friends. As I mentioned in the previous episode, anger can spark a lot, right? And as I was speaking to you about anger when it comes to our intimate connections and anger about injustice toward women, another topic popped up for me that I want to talk to you about today. And that is anger toward the way that the home, our intimate space, our domestic life, has kind of been abused by the systems that are set up in this country of the United States and misinterpreted and misunderstood by the cultural trends that we have. So today's focus is going to be on the home and the importance of healing it and bringing awareness to some of the systems that have kind of broken us and truly broken our families. I don't believe that a broken home is defined by divorce. Absolutely not. I believe that a broken home is defined by people who are abused and pushed to the very edge of their mental well-being. And so today, where I'm going to begin is by centering down on some of the causes of why our domestic life, our home life in the U.S. is so damaged right now, so broken. Why there's so much pain there. Pain that's often masked, but pain nonetheless. And the two primary reasons are that we don't have systems that take care of us properly. And yes, I'm talking about the government, both local and federal. We do not have systems that are set up to take care of us. That's one reason why so many homes are broken and filled with pain. The other reason is that we have a culture that values achievement and productivity, okay? So we've got two big issues. Governments that don't take care of us, and an achievement and productivity-based culture. So that's what we're going to hone in on, bring some awareness to it and see what we can do to begin the process of fixing it. So let's start with the systems that don't take care of us. The primary issue that you all know that I have personal experience with is domestic abuse, okay? And I've got some statistics to share with you from the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, okay? As well as the Department of Justice, as well as various academic studies on family court outcomes. Because when it comes to the home, obviously, if there's abuse involved, we're not going to have a healthy system or a culture overall. So, in general, approximately 13% of child custody filings include allegations of domestic abuse or child maltreatment. Now, with that being said, this is the one that's really disturbing, and this is U.S. statistics. Within the context of divorce, intimate partner violence is reported in more than 50% of all divorce cases involving children. I'm going to say that again. Intimate partner violence is reported in more than 50% of all divorce cases involving children. And here's the part that really hits home and stings, and a part that I've lived through. An estimated 58,000 children per year are court-ordered into unsupervised contact with physically or sexually abusive parents following a custody dispute. Again, an estimated 58,000 children per year are court-ordered into unsupervised contact with physically or sexually abusive parents following a custody dispute. I can tell you that that's not surprising to me. Domestic abuse and violence is becoming a bigger and bigger problem in this country. It is so prevalent, and the cycle continues, meaning the cycle of abuse. And part of the reason why the cycle continues is that systems are not appropriately set up to protect the children or the victim involved. Now, again, when it comes to my personal experience, I'm going to get into it, but not too into it. And so I'm going to try to find the best balance between vague and direct. So in the case of my family, an actual conviction of domestic assault was involved with my husband's ex-wife. She was actually convicted of domestic assault. So we already had a leg up on most people in that there was an actual documented crime. But it didn't matter. Throughout that custody battle, my husband was forced to do mediation with his abuser and a custody evaluation with his abuser. Meanwhile, she continued to use all of her abusive tactics of manipulation to kind of skate through that whole thing unscathed. It didn't matter that she attacked him with the children present. It didn't matter that there were previous physical assault incidents as well as emotional abuse, threatening, harassing, none of that mattered. You know why? Because she served her time for probation for her crime and didn't violate any of the no contact orders. Well, if you check these boxes, I guess everything's okay. I guess you've learned your lesson. She has not learned her lesson. And this is unfortunately the case with lots of crimes involving domestic abuse and violence. The goal of the court systems is to keep families out of it. And you can tell. There's so much money and events involved with court cases to keep people out of the courts, to encourage people to figure out their problems on their own. Well, guess what? When you're dealing with a domestic abuser, you can't figure it out. There's no amount of online communication classes, which, by the way, people are ordered to take, like parenting, communication, co-parenting. There's no amount of online parent communication classes that will heal a relationship with an abusive person. But that's what people are court ordered to do. Do the online classes, do your probation, check the boxes, and if you did that, well, everything's fine. It's not fine. This is not a system that takes care of people. I find it fascinating that criminals can get a lawyer appointed to them, but so many domestic violence victims can't. And in the cases where they can, do you know who's outside organizations committed to the cause, not the courts? This is why so many victims of domestic abuse don't come forward, because they're not going to get the help that they need. If they're actually brave enough to seek custody of their children or to get out of an abusive marriage or an abusive relationship, well, when they get to court, they're going to be told things like they need to learn to communicate and co-parent. That's so wrong. Abuse victims will never be able to have a healthy co-parenting relationship with their abuser. And if their abuser abused the parent of those children, what is going to stop them from abusing the kids? We have to heal the home in this country, and that starts with having systems that protect people. I bet there'd be a lot less abusers if they just lost custody of their kids. Oh, you're going to hit the mother of the child, you're going to hit the father of the child. Guess what? You're done with that child. And yes, that absolutely is how it should be, because if something has escalated to the level of physical violence, a lot of stuff has happened before that. A lot of stuff has happened before that. Don't even get me started on child protective services, because it has to get really bad for them to get involved. Oh, the kids are hiding under the bed from the parent? Okay, well, at least they're safe under there. That's kind of what the mindset is. That's kind of how it goes. The threshold is very large for actually crossing over and doing something. So when it comes to these issues of domestic violence and abuse, so few victims want to come forward because they're not given the help that they need. Maybe they're lucky enough to be in close proximity to an organization that will help them. But in many cases, qualifying for help with these organizations is really hard. You have to be living in a certain amount of poverty to qualify for any kind of legal aid. That's wrong. If we have violence and abuse in our homes, what kind of country are we going to have when violence and abuse is just tolerated? And this is one fraction of the issues that we have in this home. But I argue, and I continue to argue, that there are so many flaws in our justice system. And I'm saying that because our justice system in some ways was created by criminals, okay? Was created by people who stole this land from other people. So to a certain extent, the system is built more so to protect criminals than victims. And if you need any more proof of that, look at the president. The way that he was absolved of his crimes was by becoming president. What? That's insane. We need better systems that care for people. And I don't know exactly how to build these systems. I just know where they're going wrong and what I would like to change, given the power and intricate knowledge of how court systems are built. But I can tell you from my experience with it, it's turning tables. It's like a restaurant. It's go in and go out. And I've even sat in on criminal court. It's astounding what some people can get away with, or how they get a slap on the wrist. Oh, well, you did your time. Okay, go. It's turning tables. It is not a justice system. This needs to change. So when it comes to healing our homes, we have a lot of abusive people, right? There's a lot of abusive people out there, and there's a lot of victims out there. And so we need to start by creating a system that actually helps victims and actually helps children so that the cycles don't continue. Because there's enough psychological research out there to prove that abuse is a cycle. It's learned behavior. And part of the reason why it's being learned is because children are being put back into homes with abusive people. Home is where everything begins. It's where we're raised when we're young. It's where we're supposed to go to unwind and relax with our family, where we're supposed to connect with people, where we're supposed to take care of ourselves. But we're not encouraged to take care of ourselves, and we're not encouraged to take care of our children. So we have the issue of domestic violence, right? And that it's difficult for victims to protect their children and future generations when they find themselves in an abusive cycle. But the other problem with home life, too, is that the cost of living is ridiculous. So many victims don't leave abusive relationships or just unhealthy relationships because it's too hard to survive on your own. I was a single parent for a while, supporting my kids on a single income. But it took me a long time to find a job where I could. And when I did finally find a job where I could, I had to endure being verbally abused by traumatized kids in order to support my kids. So even when I found a job that could sustain my domestic life, I had to endure a lot of intense behavioral situations in order to get that wage. I've talked to people some who are in abusive relationships and some who are not. Maybe they're just in an unhealthy relationship. But they've told me they don't want to leave because they don't think they can do it on their own. They're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford rent, food for my kids, everything. I don't know how I'm going to rebuild from the cost of this divorce if I leave. That's the other problem, is it's too hard to make a living these days. That's another broken system. I have a master's degree. And after my divorce, I had a job, I had a master's degree, lots of very good professional experience, really good grades when I was in school. And I had a job that was paying me $1,600 a month. How am I supposed to support my kids, with their health care, pay rent, be on my own at $1,600 a month. It's another broken system. And it leads to people who just feel hopeless because they can't support themselves. It doesn't matter, how hardworking and determined you are. The systems are what they are. Now, I found a way. There's always a way to work around things. And I rebuilt for myself. But again, there was lots of things that I had to endure to do so. So it doesn't matter if you're a victim of abuse or if you're just trying to leave an unhealthy situation. It's very hard to rebuild on your own. And then the home becomes a place not where you can just relax, but it becomes a place that you're just trying to survive in. Meaning it's hard to relax when you do get to your home because all you can think about is how hard you have to work to just maintain it. It's hard to relax and enjoy your place when you're paycheck to paycheck. When you're figuring out how to pay this bill and that bill. And that kind of naturally leads me into the productivity and achievement-based culture, right? We live in a culture where we are conditioned to value achievement. We are conditioned to value productivity because the reality of the country that we live in is that profits are valued over people. And many of the corporations in this country do not care what happens to people as long as they're making money on it. That's just the reality of the situation. And so people are conditioned to just work, to become products. Even if you hate your job, well, you have to hate your job. You have to do it to put food on the table. So then by the time they do come home, people are exhausted, they're stressed, and we can't just flip a switch and all of a sudden be cheerful at home. Human beings cannot separate things as well as we'd like to think that we can, right? Work-home life is not a thing. We are who we are everywhere we go, and you can't flip a switch just because you're at home now. You take everything with you. We're not meant to be compartmentalized beings. We are meant to be holistic, spiritual beings, but we are not living in a culture that allows for that to happen. And so part of the other problem is that people are so stressed. And I heard recently on a Jay Shetty interview with an entrepreneur named, her name's Layla. I can't remember her last name, but if you go to his podcast and you search it, you'll see Layla. She talks about the problems with leadership and that a lot of people are unhappy at work because of poor leaders. And I 100% agree with her. Who you work for and the systems that they've built within your workplace has everything to do with your happiness. And what I have found in most workplaces, whether it be education, the business world, pretty much anything, the leaders involved, the ones who create and run the systems, have hidden agendas, most often that are self-serving. Again, look at this country. Look who's at the top. I think it's pretty clear they are not concerned with the people. They are concerned with their own hidden agendas, with their own corruption, and that has a trickle-down effect. So lots of people are unhappy at their jobs because of poor leadership. And because so few of the leaders that run organizations are actually concerned with creating a healthy system for their workers. Healthy workplace, healthy home. It all goes hand in hand. But on that note, we're kind of taught not to value our home because we all have to work so much and so hard just to put food on the table. We're not at home as much. And again, by the time we get there, we're stressed. And so our domestic life, our family, it's hard to really connect with them because we can't flip that switch. And then you add on top of that some of the stereotypes that have been created about home life, right? This ties back into my previous episode about women and how they are treated and how being a homemaker or stay-at-home mom or dad is something that's sometimes kind of made fun of or seen as less than or seen as weak, right? Like it's not, and that's even proven by the fact that people don't make any money when they stay at home. I don't know, the people who are taking care of the kids of this future generation probably should be valued. And I can tell you, as someone who has worked outside and inside the home, Working inside the home is so much harder. Taking care of kids is so hard and so important because, as I pointed out in my comments about abuse, kids learn lots of things at a young age, and what they learn when they're young becomes who they are when they're adults. And unfortunately, by then it's subconscious and just kind of wired into who they are. So kids are important. What they learn is important. But also, parents and families in this culture, and I mean like mainstream kind of US colonialist capitalist culture, parents are not really taught to educate their kids. We're not really taught that elders matter or that wisdom being passed down from families matter. We kind of go to external sources for wisdom, right? It's kind of like, oh, I send you to school and you get wisdom there. Oh, let's go to church and we'll get wisdom for 1 hour a week there and then kind of go about our lives. Now, I'm not saying there isn't value in schools. I have some issues with the church, so I'm going to leave that over there. But that there isn't value in other outside organizations, absolutely. But I think we've experienced a great loss with not encouraging parents to pass their wisdom down to their kids, with setting up the system where it's like, well, no, school is where you go to get knowledge. I think we need to incorporate more of a healthy balance of reminding parents that they have wisdom to offer, of reminding parents that who they are at home matters, of reminding parents that who they are and what they've experienced is of value and that they can teach their kids. That's a piece that's missing. And so the home just really isn't valued for wisdom anymore. The home, unfortunately, has kind of become either a place you escape to or a place you escape from. And what I mean by that with a place you escape to is a place where you kind of turn off your brain, right? You flip on the TV and you just binge something or you scroll on your phone. Now, there's nothing wrong with occasionally just kind of, watching a TV show or a movie. Of course, we all need that sometimes. But when it becomes a regular habit of, okay, I work this job that I hate, I come home and I just need to distract myself from it. I'm going to binge this show, I'm going to scroll on my phone, or I'm just going to distract myself with whatever random tasks need doing so I don't really have to face my own mind or my own feelings. Escapism in general, as a form of coping, is another issue that we have here. Meaning, so many people are so out of touch with who they are and how they want to connect with people, or they're so afraid to lose the domestic life that they have, meaning like their home and their money, that they turn to escapism sometimes as a form of coping. So let me break this down a little bit. If you're unhappy in your work life and you don't know how to relax in your home life, well, then it's easy to just jump into distractions like, regular happy hours or maybe an affair or busying yourself, right? We're taught as Americans to be busy, to always be busy with something, whether it's scrolling, errands, activities, running around. I can't tell you how many parents I've asked, so what do you like to do? What are you interested in? And they don't have an answer because they're so conditioned to believe that it's like, well, my only life is work. Whether that's taking my kids to activities or my own work, I don't even know what I like to do anymore. Because we're also defined by our achievements too, right? People are defined by those activities that their kids are involved in and how good they are, or they're defined by the role that they play at work, wherever that is. So this escapism happens when we don't have enough, meaning enough to really sustain us emotionally, when we're not in touch with who we are and true belonging and some sort of spirituality or purpose identification. It's like that thing of, okay, I have everything that I'm supposed to have. I have this house, I have this relationship, I have these kids, I have these activities, but I'm miserable. Why? I did everything that I was supposed to do. Well, when people hit that wall, that's when often then they turn to escapism. Well, I can't give this up because this is what I'm supposed to do. So maybe I'll just distract myself over here. Again, with this with this hobby or this social media thing that I've dived into, or this social media presence that I create. That's a big one for escapist people. People can be in their relationships and in their family life and find escapism through social media and the presence that they put on there. Meaning the pictures, the videos, the everything that they put on there that feature their family that aren't really the reality of the situation, but you can lose yourself in that and the dopamine hits that you get from posting it. Again, there's also the affair piece of, well, yeah, I'm not going to give this up. I don't want to give up the material security that I have here, so I'm just going to keep this relationship over here. This will be my escape. Escapism is also at the heart of the broken family lives that we have here. People are just taught to escape. So we need some better systems. We do need to rebuild this country, but we need to rebuild it in a way that takes care of people. Do you know how much healthier and happier and growth-oriented people are when they feel like they're taken care of? When they don't feel like the systems that they're involved in are corrupt and only meant to serve hidden agendas? It's incredible what people are capable of when they actually feel like the people who they work for or the people who are responsible for creating the laws that govern them have their back. It's pretty incredible what happens when you know that you're taken care of. And what happens in the home and in the domestic life affects the rest of everything. How can we have a healthy country and healthy systems with this much domestic abuse and with people who are just trying to escape? Escaping is not the answer, and it will never be a permanent solution. Connection and compassion are the answers. Resources for everyone who needs them are the answers. We need to create a culture where people are taken care of, where they're given the time and space and energy to actually take care of themselves, to actually connect with their family, to actually identify who they are and what they want before they just kind of follow this achievement-based culture by getting into the marriage, getting into the job, getting into having kids when maybe it wasn't right for them. Maybe part of the problem with the marriage and relationship culture that we have and the kid culture is that people feel pressured to get married or to have kids or to do these achievements, check the boxes, because that's what they're rewarded for. Right? What are people rewarded for? Oh, I got the relationship. Oh, I had the kids. Oh, I got the job. Check, check, check. That's the world we live in. That's the culture we live in. Maybe if some different values were encouraged, people wouldn't feel so pressured to check the boxes and end up in situations that they didn't want to be in. We have to start valuing the home by paying people who take care of the home, by encouraging people that they are enough on their own and they don't have to check boxes of certain relationships or certain values of having kids to be a healthy, whole person. That doesn't have to be the case. We have to have resources for victims of abuse, and we have to hold criminals and abusers accountable with real, lasting consequences, because they will do it again. That's the nature of abuse, and we have to start protecting children by getting them out of situations where cycles of abuse exist. This is how we can begin to heal the homes in this country. And so in terms of a starting point for you, I can tell you one thing. Excuse me. Even though a lot of these systems are broken, it is absolutely worth it for you to get out of that abusive relationship. The universe has a way of filling in the gaps where the leaders of this world fail. And even though there are a lot of injustices that we faced in our situation with domestic abuse, there have been victories along the way. There have been barriers that have put in place along the way that have made it at least a little bit better. And I still firmly believe that despite the injustices of this world and the ways that my husband was poorly treated by the justice system, I still believe that somehow a victory will happen. That the angelic and spiritual forces of this world that have helped move justice forward throughout the ages will intervene. So, I do encourage you, even though some of these statistics are really depressing, I do encourage you to do what you can to escape and to protect your kids if you are in that situation, looking at what resources are available to you. Because just because the world hasn't caught up yet doesn't mean that you shouldn't take the first step to protecting yourself. I do promise you that even inside of all these unjust systems, it is worth it. Maybe you're not in an abusive relationship, but you're in a really toxic marriage, or you're just in a situation that you know isn't right for you. There's a way. Even if you have to take a couple losses, even if you have to leave your house, even if you have to start from scratch, there is a way to make it work. We need better systems that take care of all of us, but you can still draw on your own personal power to begin with. You can see what local resources you have. Call on, the spiritual beliefs that you have. There are little miracles that happen that can help us rebuild. And so much magic happens when you remember who you are. And it's very difficult to know who you are when you're in a toxic situation. The other thing that I'm going to add is, as a culture, we just need to value the home more. We need to portray stories that don't turn the home into something people are trying to escape from. We need to build more of a respect for those who care for children. We need to take their work seriously because it is really hard, and it's also everything. The children are the future of the world. And if psychology has taught us anything lately, it's that we learn a lot of our adult patterns as children. Right? We learn lessons young, and then they become subconscious patterns that we live out in adulthood. We have to value the people who care for children. We have to respect them. We have to help them. We have to honor them. We have to encourage, the circulation of wisdom again. And I firmly believe that the healthier the homes that we have in this country, the healthier the country will be. How can we expect to have a well-functioning culture when the places where we live are so unsafe and so unhealthy? We need living wages. We need time. We need to breathe. We need the freedom to know who we are without the pressure of checking boxes so that we can make the decisions that are best for us and those we love. So I don't have a world solution, for this one. It's more just like, well, I see the problems, and I hope that someday I'll be connected to somebody who can help me create the solutions. But for now, what I can offer you is just the truth that taking that first step to freeing yourself, protecting yourself and those you love is worth it. There are magical sort of, loopholes even in this broken system that can allow you to protect yourself and your children. And again, even if you're not in an abusive situation, I would encourage you just to take some time with yourself, whether you're in a relationship that's toxic or whether you're young and you're figuring out what you want to do. Just take some time to think about what it is that you actually want, about who you want to be, the kind of work you want to do, who you want to work for, the kind of family life that you want. Allow yourself that freedom to live and be who you are, regardless of the materialistic and societal pressures that are put on you. And if you are engaging in some sort of escapism, I would encourage you to just turn it off for a minute. Mute that social media. Step back from it and ask yourself if it's really fulfilling you. If you're involved in an affair, step back and ask if it's really fulfilling you or if it's just a fun distraction for a while. Because I can promise you, the hard work of actually starting over and discovering and becoming who you are is always worth it. And this is coming from someone who has lost. I've taken some losses, including losing a home. I've taken a lot of losses. And I should also add, there are some things that some local governments are doing to help. I know that there's progress being made, and embedded in the toxic system of our lawmakers are some genuinely kind people who do want change. I know that. But as a whole, we've got a big problem. And we can all be a part of the solution. You know, if you are a leader in your workplace, if you are a boss, ask yourself too, am I here for my people? Is taking care of my people a priority for me? Or do I have some kind of hidden agenda? You know, maybe reassess that. And whatever organizations you're involved in too, you know, when it comes to the workplace, how can you maybe help create an environment that puts people first, genuinely, not just in a core values list that's painted on the wall? Because we all know that those are bullshit 80% of the time. So anyway, I don't have as many solutions for you as I usually do, but sometimes bringing awareness to the problem is the first step. And maybe just the piece of encouragement that I can tell you is that there are loopholes. There are ways to find freedom, even in this faulty system. And while we're on our way to creating systems that better take care of families in the home, you can still find ways to protect yourself and at least put yourself and your children in a better situation than you were before. Because I can tell you that is our situation. It's not where it should be, but it is better than before, despite all of the flaws in the system. And it is always 100% worth it to live the life that you deserve and that your family deserves. So, thank you for coming on this journey with me of anger. And I'm in your corner, you know? I'm rooting for you. I'm sharing all this with you because I believe in you. And I really want you to rediscover your own power and your own compassion and your own love. You are capable of so much. You have so much divinity inside you. And I want you to remember that.